Well, good afternoon, good evening, or good day, wherever you're coming from today. Welcome to the Defence Rests, and I'm sorry I'm late. I don't know if anyone caught the live stream last night, but I was pretty much up for most of the night live streaming on Recovery Addicts channel, which was absolutely phenomenal. It was awesome. It was an amazing experience, and I loved every minute of it. And I will be doing a thank you gratitude video in the next day or so, just to thank, because he's just so generous and so supportive, and yeah, so get over to his channel if you like any anything true crime. He actually streams in live real time, so it's Recovery Addict. I will put a link in the description box for everyone so you can find him. And welcome to all of the fantastic new subscribers that we've actually had come across to the channel. Thanks again to Scott. So yes, exciting times, and I've pretty much spent most of the day in bed because, as I said, he streams it live real time. So it was about 7:30 this morning, I think, that he finished streaming, and yeah, that's when I went to bed. So we definitely have Hat here today, and we'll get into it. So today we're doing the recap again of the day 6 of the Apple River stabbings of Nicolae Miu. So let's run the intro for a start, and then we shall get into it.
Or are you actually in the North Gate Village Apartments now?
Well, I can tell you it's been a very dangerous and extremely fast pursuit. They've been chasing that van right there. Now,
That's exactly what he's doing. Are you Googling the laws right now?
Henderson Police Department SWAT team responded to the scene and set up a perimeter around the condominium.
I travel in and out of time zone.
And the 3 key rules for a criminal defense lawyer: always on time, impeccably dressed, and occasionally sober.
The yellow sports car up ahead won't stop. Then, something happens you might expect in a Spider-Man movie. It wraps around the tire of the fleeing vehicle and stops all forward motion.
Objection, asked and answered.
I mean, he leaps over the fucking bench.
No, the thing is, that's my property. You have no choice.
Actually, I do, because I found friggin' Xanax bars on your driver's seat. If you want to explain something, explain those.
Cops get very frustrated when you don't answer the questions.
No.
Step back forward. He's gonna go straight. There's a car right here. Got him.
All right, I'm going to excuse everyone. Mr. Brooks is being removed from the courtroom.
This is fucking hilarious. So he pulls out a joint in court.
Go. Turn on your stomach! Stop fighting us! Stop resisting!
The injury by the police, that may be a separate issue for you to file a civil suit.
Chris, just while he's doing that, talk to me. What were you running for again? Warrants. Warrants? A felony warrant? City warrants what?
Felony warrant on Kansas.
Well, I'm pretty sure they ran you, and you don't have any warrants.
I don't.
No.
No warrants.
No. So all that for nothing, right? No warrants, no nothing.
Yeah.
Police! A little farther, bro. A little more. Okay, go.
I'm not finna sit here and let you fix the trial because you don't want to tell the truth to the jury.
We're there, guys. Got eyes on.
I want to suck it. Yes, I think I would like to suck your dick. I don't think so.
I prefer not to.
I prefer not to, sir. See, that I love that.
So do you wish to say anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
All right. So, day 6 of the trial. Let's do our little tribute to Isaac. Freezer. I had a backup plan. All right, day 6. So we have had the first 3 witnesses on the top of the list, and we are now up to John Schultz of the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office, the lead investigator. So he will be our first witness for today. Now, let's just as a recap, Nicolae Miu is on trial on 5 counts. The first count is first-degree intentional homicide, and the following 4 are attempted first-degree intentional homicide. And obviously, the first count is for the death of Isaac Schuman, the 17-year-old in this case. So let's get to Apple River.
Enhanced or cleaned up, so it would go from distorted to more like how a normal video would. The witnesses you spoke with?
I did not.
Wasn't Peter.
And are you the lead investigator on this case?
I am.
How did you end up as the lead investigator?
We have on-call weekends, and I was on call that weekend.
Did you respond to the scene at the Sunrise Bridge?
I did.
When you were there, did you make contact with some of the witnesses who testified?
I did.
And do you recall who you spoke with at the scene?
As far as witnesses that have testified, I spoke with Owen Peliquin, Ryan Nelson, Alex Bang, Madison Cohen, Janelle Duxbury, Quentin Carlson, and I believe that was it.
And was that a in-depth interview or quickly gathering information? How was that?
I was looking just for quick synopsis, name, date of birth, telephone number, and a synopsis.
Were you trying to sort out who actually saw things and who were just bystanders?
I was.
When you made contact with Owen Pelican, Alex Vang, and Ryan Nelson, those were all, they were with Isaac's group?
They were.
Did you notice any signs of intoxication when you spoke with them?
I did not.
Did you notice any slurred speech?
I did not.
Any swaying while they were standing?
No, sir.
And that was on body cam when you were interacting with them?
It was, yes.
Did you get blood or breath samples for BAC for the witnesses you spoke with?
I did not.
Why not?
I had no clues of impairment for any of them.
Did you, you heard you were here for Sally Standard's testimony. Did you collect any buccal swabs?
I did, from Anthony Carlson.
And was that placed in evidence and secured in the sheriff's office?
Yes.
Have you ever been trained that you're supposed to put DNA samples in refrigeration?
No.
There's been some questions of witnesses about, have you seen the video? Did law enforcement ever show witnesses the video of the incident prior to interviews?
No.
And did you go anywhere else from the Sunrise Bridge? Let me rephrase. Did you do any more interviews that day?
I did.
And where were those done?
At Regions Hospital.
And who'd you speak with there?
At Regions, I spoke with Quentin Carlson again, Anthony Carlson, Tony Carlson, he goes by, Dante Carlson. I believe that was it that day. I attempted to talk to Riley and AJ, but I couldn't because of their conditions.
As part of the investigation, did law enforcement search the river for evidence?
We did.
Including actually in the water?
Correct.
How was that done?
We utilized our dive team who came over and searched that area.
Did that include metal detectors?
It did.
Did they find any knives?
They did, yes.
And can you describe those?
I can. One was a corroded box cutter and another was a corroded pocket knife.
And when you say corroded, do you mean looked like they've been in the water for a while?
Yes, sir.
Watching the video, part of what you got is the video from Jawan, and then you got individual frames of that video, right?
I did, yes.
And so were you able to, by looking at the total frames compared to the total length of the video, figure out the frames per second for that video?
Yes, it is 24 frames per second on average.
I want to ask you about Larion Davis. So did you make contact with him on scene of the river?
I did, yes.
And did he mention something about having a video?
He did.
And did you get that video from him?
I did, yes.
And how did that happen?
I asked him to email it to me and he thought it was going to be too big, so he texted it to me.
And did you see it come through in your text?
I did.
Did you, and you were here when it was played in court, that video?
Yes.
And is that the video? Is that how you received it?
I believe so.
And did you notice right away that it was all blurry?
I did. After I started to review it, yes, I did.
But right away when he sent it to you, did you notice?
I did not, no.
Did you follow up? Did law enforcement follow up with Larion to try to get the original?
We did, yes.
And what was done to try to get the original unblurred or version?
It was sent, well, first we recovered his phone. Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
First we recovered his phone. We learned that Larion's phone had water damage and that it was sent to an Apple facility in Indiana. We acquired a search warrant to obtain that. We did get that. I got the phone back. Part of my duties, I do extractions on electronics to include cell phones. And I was not able to get an extraction from his device. Because I couldn't do that, we also utilized other methods, including search warrants to his cell phone provider, Snapchat, as well as iCloud, in an attempt to get that video.
Were you ever able to get the original video?
We were not.
And did you do anything to see if you could try to get the video enhanced or cleaned up so it would go from distorted to more like how a normal video would look from a cell phone?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
I was sent to MOCIC, which is, I believe it's Mid-States Organized Crime Information Center. They offer a lot of resources to a number of law enforcement agencies. They have a lot more resources than most agencies can afford. One of those things that they can do is assist law enforcement with videos, photographs, things of that nature. So I sent it to them.
And did you get back another version of the video?
I did.
Did it look like a normal cell phone video?
No.
Is MOIC
No.
still blurry?
Correct.
Was MO, and what was the acronym you used?
MOCIC.
MOCIC. Is that also who did the frames for you?
It is.
I'm just going to pull up Exhibit 2 so that you can see the difference between the two videos. It's the wrong exhibit.
I had planned to take another break before lunch. I was going to suggest maybe we break now while you're looking
Sure.
at your video.
Sure.
So let's take a short 10-minute break. We'll come back shortly before 11 o'clock. All rise for the jury.
We go back to
All right, we're back on the record with the attorneys, Mr. Miu, and 14 jurors. We are ready to resume. Mr. Anderson, are you ready? Your
Yes.
video? Go ahead and play it. Investigator Schultz, please retake the witness stand.
Investigator Schultz, so this bottom one, would that be the original video you got from Larry and Davis?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just gonna open it up, Judge, and just go through a few frames so the jury can see the comparison.
Yes.
Okay. Then this resized one is the one you got from MOCIC?
Correct.
Were there any items that were turned in as found from civilians that turned out to have some connection to the case?
Yes, there was.
Was one of those a cell phone?
Yes.
And Were you able to determine the owner of the cell phone?
I was. When I received the cell phone, again, part of my job is doing cell phone extractions. I took the SIM card out of the phone and recognized it as belonging to T-Mobile. So I contacted T-Mobile, provided them with identifying numbers on that SIM card, and I learned the phone belonged to Ariel.
And was another item that was turned in a pocket knife?
Yes.
And can you just, what brand pocket knife was it?
Tactical Gears.
And was there somebody that was interviewed that described having lost a Tactical Gears knife on that day on the river?
Yes, Mr. Baldozo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name.
Would that be the husband of the nurse, Andrea, who testified?
It would be, yes.
So are you aware that that Nicolae said in his interview that one of the boys had a kitchen knife?
I am.
And was a kitchen knife located?
Yes.
Where was that located?
At the hideaway.
May I approach?
Yes.
So this is Exhibit 25A, the river map. So the incident is here, kitchen knife was found here.
Yes.
Did you review body cam regarding for the time that the kitchen knife was found?
I did.
Was it discussed over the radio?
It was.
Was Nicolae in custody at that time?
Yes.
And were the officers around him wearing radios?
They were.
Was there a radio in the squad car when he got placed in a squad car?
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about Madison Cohen. I think you said Madison Cohen is one of the ones you made brief contact with at the scene?
Yes.
Do you recall seeing any injury on Madison Cohen?
I did not.
Were you present for her testimony that when she said the sheriff's office told her that the sheriff's office didn't want a photo of her injuries?
I was.
Is that true?
No.
And had you actually previously made efforts to retrieve the photo that she said she took?
Yes.
What was that?
I did an extraction. I did not do the extraction. I reviewed an extraction from Madison Cohen's cellular device. I also did an extraction and reviewed it on Madison Cohen's mother's device.
Why'd you do her mother's phone also?
I spoke with, or I learned that Madison was not sure if she took the photo or if her mother took the photo. So both provided their cell phones so law enforcement could search them for the photos.
And did you locate any photos during the time frame she said she thought she took it that could have been, or that was consistent with her description?
Not during the time frame, no.
And were there any deleted photos recovered from either phone?
There were not.
And when you do a download, why don't you just explain to the jury how you do a forensic download on a phone?
Sure. So a phone in particular, I'll get the device. There's a lot of different variables, but I'll summarize. We pay for software, and I can plug the phone into a box, which goes into our computer, which more or less copies the data on the device and then puts it into a readable format that's user-friendly so we can review the data. It's not uncommon that we don't always get everything. And really, there's no rhyme or reason. Even the trainers, when I'm going through all these courses, say sometimes they don't know why we get X, and sometimes why we do. Just electronics or electronics. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
When you do a forensic download, and including with Madison's phone and her mother's phone, that includes everything the download's able to pull off the phone?
Correct.
So photos, texts, calls, all those things?
Yes.
And so you testified sheriff's office didn't tell her you didn't want the photos. Were you present for a meeting at the DA's office with Maddie when the photos were discussed?
I was.
And what was Madison? Well, did she express some anxiety about deleting the photos?
She did, yes.
And was there an effort to console her?
Yes.
And what was said to her?
Not to worry about the photos.
So she wasn't told you didn't want them. She was told not to worry about it.
Correct.
And that was after you'd already made all these efforts to get the phone that she consented to?
Yes, well after.
So you're the court officer, so you've been present for the trial?
Yes, sir.
And you recall the testimony with Lieutenant Coleman about how he got those points for incident locations from you, right?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury how you estimated those circles for the incident location and the group locations?
I can. As stated earlier, I got frame by frames from that MOCIC, which was taken from the original, or one of the videos from Mr. Cockfield. From those frame by frames, I walked out to the river. I would get in generalized locations and review the photos from the video, the frame by frames, to landmarks on shore, which assisted me in getting in the general location.
Hello,
of
Miss
where
Ruby Cakes. Hello
the
and
person
welcome.
taking the
Welcome.
video, in this case,
Lovely
Mr.
to see
Cockfield,
you.
was at specific times.
It was fun last
And
night.
do you remember how long you were out there? Was it a half hour or several hours?
It was
And
several
thank you
hours.
very much for your support.
And that you said you're comparing frames to the terrain?
Correct.
Did you walk all along the scene, like from the area of the bridge to that area of the sandbar?
Yes, I wasn't right next to the bridge, but where that grassy area was, where victims were being pulled out, from that area down to the sandbar, yes.
And this wasn't on July 30th, right?
No.
Do you recall when it was?
I went out there on multiple occasions. I believe twice in August and once in September.
And were there any?
I really don't see the relevance in this particular witness, to be honest, but let's skip ahead, shall we? Oh, hang on, there might be a video. Let's see what that. There must have been 20 people testifying the same story, just from different angles. So we really only want what's pertinent.
I don't have anything
You are
else.
so lovely, thank you. And I love your screen name.
Investigator Schultz, have you had, being the lead investigator in this case, does every report, every interview, everything ultimately work its way across your desk?
With RA
sir.
support.
Okay.
He's amazing.
So you
Absolutely
don't,
amazing.
if this is fair, you don't see some of the work that other people are doing in the case. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm a bit more cheekier than
Um,
RA is, that's for sure.
You, in terms of your background, you are or have
There was
been
a video coming up, but
involved
no.
in the crisis
About
negotiation team?
next.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Where are we?
and the SWAT
Come on.
team, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Would it be fair if I said to you, those are
Replay.
situations in
Come
your
on.
experience, your training and experience,
That's
that
a replay. That's a
sometimes involve highly stressful events?
Correct.
Let's go there. Let me double check who our witnesses are for the day. Oh no, the next one's Roberto. There he is. His name suits him. I said that out loud, didn't I? Whoops.
Okay, can you give us an idea of about how much you had to drink?
I would say the total for the day was about 6 beers.
How would you describe your intoxication level when you were witnessing what you were witnessing?
I was slightly buzzed. I mean, I was still able to walk and talk and such.
Okay. If you said to the, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, if you said to the police that you were drunk, would that be fair or not?
No, not really fair. I wasn't drunk. I was definitely
smashed.
drinking.
Okay. And so your family, your friends are just kind of having a lazy day on the river. Is that, would that be reasonable?
Correct.
Okay. And does there come a point when you're on the river that something draws your attention?
Yeah, we were floating along and we had been stopping along the ways, just kind of meeting people and kind of conversing with other groups. We had just left the little bar. There's a little bar that you kind of climb up the hill and you can order drinks and whatnot. You needed to have cash and we didn't have cash on us, so we just left. We started to take off from there and I noticed, I didn't have my glasses on, but it looked to me like people were dancing, kind of partying. And so I told the group, I said, hey, I think there's people dancing over there. Let's go check it out. So as we started floating up, I started noticing that it looked a little bit more than dancing. I wasn't sure because I can only see like the shadows or outlines because it was so far away. So I started to veer off to the right of the river. And then immediately my wife jumps off and takes off towards the bank. And that's when I took off and followed her.
Okay, I'm going to just back it up for a minute, okay? Now, to be fair, I think your interview with the police, there was questions about your ability to see based upon whether or not you were wearing any type of corrective lenses or anything. Is that fair?
Correct. I actually made that a point right from the beginning.
All right. And how would you, without glasses, because you said you weren't wearing them, right?
Correct.
How would you describe your eyesight?
I mean, it's fair. I can see well enough to drive. I just can't see details
because I was pissed.
You can, is it fair to say I think if I heard you correctly, you can see shapes and outlines?
Correct. A little bit more than just that, though. I mean, I could see what's, I can see that far away. I just can't see in detail, if you will. It's not crisp. It's fuzzy.
And when you see the people that you believe initially might be dancing, about how far away from them are you? Best guess.
I would say approximately about 60 yards or so.
Okay. And can I ask you, in terms of, I'm going to try to put this together, 60 yards away, no glasses, how would you describe your ability to kind of see that based on the distance
Mr. Prosecutor?
and the no glasses? How does that?
I mean, I can't see detail from that far away, but I can definitely see people.
Okay. Do you hear what's happening?
You're drunk either.
No, it's loud.
Okay, so you can't hear anything in particular coming from that group. Is that
no?
Fair?
All I can hear is water rushing.
And
my family's from Liverpool.
If I heard you right, you said then at some point you believed it didn't look like they were dancing. It looked like there was more going on.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it looked odd after a minute because there was a lot of, kind of crouching down. Some people were kind of crouching down.
Yeah,
can I ask you about how long do you think this was going
Yorkshire.
on in terms of
Some
what
of
you
the
initially
Yorkshire.
believed might have been dancing and then you believed was something else?
Yum.
I definitely under a minute, if I understand the question correctly.
Yeah. All right. And then you, if I heard you right, you said that your wife got up and took off.
She did. At that point, we did kind of notice that there was some people laying on the bank. And so at first she had said, I think somebody was impaled by a tree.
Oh.
And so as she was kind of saying that, she was leaping off of her tube to take off running. That's when I took off after her.
Okay. So although you can't hear necessarily what's going on, you heard what your wife said.
Correct. She was right next to me, elbows touching.
And about how far away from the groups that you said you saw, like laying there, about how far away from them are you?
Oh, somewhere, I would say in the proximity of maybe 40 feet at that point, maybe 50.
And is your wife ahead of you in this?
Yes, I was
Going
pursuing
to them?
her. Yes.
Seeing what you're seeing that day, did that cause you some concern for either your physical safety or your wife's?
Melbourne.
At
Melbourne,
at
Victoria,
first, yes.
Australia.
My wife, because we had no idea what she was rushing into, or I didn't.
And as a result of your concern for her physical safety, what did you do?
Took off running after her.
Okay, what else did you do?
Tripped over a rock. I had my knife on the inside of my waistband, my swim trunks.
Okay.
And when I came up, the water was about knee high. There was a huge set of rocks there. So my right leg kind of got stuck on the rock. My left tripped or slipped. And I went forward and I felt the butt end of my knife kind of jabbed me in the stomach. So I reached down and did something. But I kept running towards my wife.
Did you pull your knife out?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Do you remember telling the police that you pulled out your knife? You just don't remember if you opened the blade or not.
What does this got to do with anything?
Because it had jabbed me, so I don't know if I pulled it out. And the reason for my confusion is when my wife asked.
Wow.
So my wife was asking for a chest seal. I'm pushing up the narrative here a bit. She was asking for a chest seal. So later on, I kind of don't remember if I had pulled out my knife and kept it out when I tripped. But I remember my wife asking for a chest seal. So I turned back to my daughter, Aubrey, and she ran back to our tubes and got me a sandwich baggie. And I don't remember if I cut the baggie to make it lengthier because it was folded over. But I don't remember cutting the bag. I remember seeing the bag cut open, perfectly squared to make it longer to cover the hole in Isaac's chest.
Do you remember that when your wife took off running, that you had said to the police that you were attempting to kind of make a threat assessment at that point as to what was happening?
Correct. I tried to scan in the area, see what was going on, because I noticed there was somebody else that was hurt on this side. So it led me to believe that it could possibly be something like that. So I was kind of just scanning, making kind of a threat assessment. I didn't really see much. So I started focusing on my wife.
And based on that threat assessment, you informed the police that you pulled your knife.
I don't recall that exactly.
Okay.
So hello.
If it says that you pulled your knife after doing a threat assessment, would you disagree with that?
I think maybe that's taken out of context because I didn't feel threatened at any point, nor did I pull out the knife in a thought of in defending myself or anything like that.
So when you would say to the police, I was looking into the crowd,
but he's very spoiled,
because right away my thought process, threat assessment, where is the threat? Who is doing what? Let me get a good summary of what's going on here. But then my wife's already en route. So I jump off the tube, take off running. I see what appears to be someone doing this, and then you make a motion. Okay. Then your response is, and so I pulled out my knife, but I don't remember if I opened the blade or if I just pulled it from my trunks. Do you remember that statement?
It sounds like something I would say for sure.
Okay. And I think you said to the police, well, let me ask you this. Did you ultimately keep your knife or was it lost?
It was
What
lost.
kind
I
of
don't know
dog
what
is
happened
it?
to it.
Miss Schmooby Cakes?
And it was lost in the,
Chihuahua?
presumably in the river?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. And do you know what's happening? Meaning, are you able to see what's happening at that point?
I don't think this witness has any relevance whatsoever.
Well, yeah, I was focused on my wife and noticed Isaac's body laying there. That's where most of my focus was at.
Go on to.
Did you notice, I think you
Right.
had made
I'd really
mention
like
to the
to go on
police
to
that you ultimately noticed the individual that you
use
thought was
testimony
responsible.
because I think
You have a character for peacefulness.
what
Yes. Yeah.
I want to now switch a little bit and ask you in general about July 30th of 2022, okay?
Okay.
Were you on the river that day with your husband and Nick and Nick's wife
Yes.
and other
or white?
friends?
Yes.
Very cute.
During that time, did you see people within your group drinking alcohol?
They had a few.
Did you observe anyone that was intoxicated?
No.
Did you have any concerns about anybody's level of intoxication? How about Nick in particular?
No.
I want to ask you about a knife, okay?
Mandatory.
Have you seen Nick carry a pocket knife before?
Yes.
Have you seen him use that pocket knife before?
Yes.
How can you just
Oh, so we
describe
must be on the defense
in
now.
what context or where you've
Yeah.
seen him use that pocket knife?
Wakey, wakey, Jody.
He always seems to have one, like at our house with the pool, help setting up the pool and things like that. And that's about it. All I really seen.
Have you seen him use it as a tool to fix things?
Yeah. Yes.
Have you seen him use it as a sharp item to cut rope or other matters?
Yes.
I agree.
On that day, did you see Nick with a knife?
I believe.
And without being a spoiler, if you followed up on Lawyer You Know and some of the jurors post trial, it's basically based more on volume of witnesses as well, which is unfortunate because it was extremely repetitive. And yes, a lot were vague. Oh, apricot. An apricot toy. Oh, he must be tiny. Oh, we used to have a little toy Pomeranian. They're just gorgeous.
I believe I did, but at the beginning.
On that day, did you see Nick use the knife to cut some rope?
Yes, I think I did. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think I did.
At some point on that day, did you become aware that someone in your group had lost a phone?
Yes.
Whose phone was lost?
Ariel.
Up until that point, can you just describe Mr. Miu's demeanor, your observations of him that day?
He was happy. Everybody was relaxed. He was relaxed, just having a good time, just relaxing on the river.
Same character you've seen of the 20 years over that you've known him.
Yes.
When Ariel lost his phone, did you see, I don't want to know the contents, but was there discussion about what to do?
I didn't really hear much of that conversation. I just knew that he lost it, and Nick said, I'll go find it. I can go find it. I know Ariel said, don't worry about it.
Okay. Did you see Nick leave to go, in what you thought was him going to look for the phone?
Yes.
At the time that he left, what was he wearing?
What was he wearing?
What's that?
Shorts.
Snorkel and goggle.
Had you seen him wearing other items earlier in the day?
A shirt and a hat, I think.
Had you seen him snorkeling earlier in the
Yes.
day? When you saw him snorkeling earlier in the day, did he wear his hat and sunglasses?
No.
Did he wear his shirt?
No. He put it back on when he came back.
And we'll get to that in a second. When you saw him leave to go look for the phone. Did he have his snorkel and goggle with him?
I didn't notice that.
My understanding is, just to cut to the chase here, that you didn't observe anything going down.
I watched it after I went to bed this morning after being on with RA. Yes, lawyer, you know, there was a juror that had made some statements about how they had gotten to their decision in this case. So yeah, check it out. It's a good insight.
Happening downriver between Nick and any other group of people. Would you
No.
agree?
And I agree.
Yes.
The
He
first you
overreacted.
learned about it is you heard somebody say something, right?
Yes.
What did you hear?
Sandy said, Nick's in trouble. Nick's in trouble. Go help him.
And when you heard that, did you see people in your group leave?
I think it was Ernesto and Ariel. I think that was the only two people I saw.
Once you heard that, though, you still weren't able to, for whatever reason, you either didn't look or you couldn't see what was going on down there.
I couldn't from where I was sitting, and the tubes were, whoops, sorry, in front of me, and I couldn't really see over it. I have to get up, like stand up.
And I see you're wearing glasses today.
Yeah.
Were you wearing glasses when you were going down?
Sunglasses.
Okay. Prescription sunglasses?
Yes.
So your vision wasn't impaired from lack of glasses?
No.
It was more just your positioning where you were at?
Yes.
And I understand at some point after this, you saw Nick come back to your group. Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't see him walk up. I just was standing, just watching the crowd, and then he just appeared on my right side.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask you some questions, but I don't want the content of the words, okay? So I don't want, I'm going to ask you about, did you ask Nick what happened?
I looked at him and I said,
Did you ask Nick what happened? Yes or no?
yes.
And you can't tell me the words, but did Nick tell you an answer to that question?
Yes.
He gave you an answer.
Yeah, a few words.
Okay. Now I want to ask you about what you saw of him, okay? When you were having that conversation with him, you're standing right in front of him? Again, you just need to give a verbal answer,
Yes.
ma'am. Okay. And when you've seen him for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
In that time, I think
What
you
did he
spoke with
say?
the police before, but when you're sitting there on the river or standing there on the river talking to him, how did he appear?
Well, in shock.
What's that?
In shock. Just
And-
stunned and like frozen.
Okay. Have you seen him in that state before?
No.
I think you'd previously used words like ghostly white or pale.
Yes.
Would those accurately describe what you saw him that day?
Yeah. Yes.
I think you'd said he had a ghost look on his face.
Yes.
Is that what you saw?
Yes.
And then you concluded, based upon your knowing him for as long as you had, that he appeared to be in shock.
Yes.
Speculation.
Not like shock as in surprise, but shock like as in a physiological, psychological condition.
Yeah.
Obviously not from a medical
Outside
term,
of
but
the
just a
scope.
click wheel person term, right?
Yes.
That's all.
Anderson, any questions?
Qualified.
Yes. So you told law enforcement Nick wasn't drinking much that day,
No.
right? No, you didn't say that, or yes, you did say that.
I believe I said that.
Yeah. You said he was dumping out his beers and putting water in them.
Oh, he does that like when we have get-togethers.
Okay. He wasn't on that day?
No. Not that I know.
So as far as you know, there's no reason Nick would say I was drinking a lot.
No.
So did you see injured people?
I did not. I saw the young boy on the side. I didn't know what his injuries were.
You saw he was getting CPR?
Yes.
And did you see someone else on the shore being aided?
No.
You didn't hear anyone crying for help or anything like that?
I did not. It was really loud. There was screaming and people running. But no, I didn't see anybody else injured.
Do you speak Spanish?
No.
care?
So Nicolae was in shock, and you determined that because his face was pale and what, not speaking?
Yeah, he just said a very brief few words and just stood there, just kind of like in shock.
Okay. Can I get a couple exhibits? 7 and 63.
It's sounds like fun in theory, but very, very unfortunate. Just
Was he stiff or rigid, or like his body?
faults on both parties.
Kind of
I do believe he acted in my opinion, I do believe he acted in self-defense, but I don't think there was any need for lethal force. And it's too cold in the UK to be floating down rivers.
I'll show you a video and ask you some questions about it. This is exhibit 60, or no.
They're not very well queued up with their exhibits and IT.
So was he like that the whole time you're with him until he was taken into custody?
Yes.
So stiff, rigid, not talking, white face, anything else?
No.
Okay.
I've been and seen.
This is exhibit 85.
I have family in Ambleside. I lived there for 3 months. Way, way, way back. Come on. Hey. What are they going to show us? A picture of Nicholas Pale? Sorry, Nicolae. Why? Nicolae. I really shouldn't do all-nighters before a live stream.
Spinning, I apologize, Judge. All right, can we have the monitor, please?
You may.
Something's wrong. Sorry, I'm gonna have Investigator Schultz do it.
Very patient judge, I must say. He controlled the courtroom very well, in my opinion.
All right, I want you to pay attention to Nicolae in this video. I'm gonna ask you some questions.
He has something like a hammer in his hand.
Just take a picture and save it.
I don't take a picture, take a video.
You pause.
Take a video.
He looks pretty nonchalant, relaxed in that video, agreed?
Yeah.
And that was after you had left the incident location, right? Doesn't look stiff.
Really?
Not that I can see.
That was
no.
after.
Leaning
See
back
his
in
face.
he's leaning back in his tube and paddling along with his hand.
He goes floating back down the river after. Oh my. I thought they just packed up and left pretty much once he walked up the river and picked the knife. I think I'm going to get a move on. Absolutely.
And so you You've known him a long time. You said you could recognize that he was in.
I'm too opinionated, I think. Too much of a potty mouth. I resonate with EBD a little bit.
Camera recording started.
Still doing all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's going
Temperature's okay.
What's going on? What
Okay.
happened?
Somebody, I hear somebody got stabbed. Did
Oh,
I fit the description?
Yes, you do.
All right.
Yep. So we're working through that now.
Agreed.
I hear somebody got stabbed.
No,
He doesn't sound distressed. Agreed.
he sounds a little distressed.
He does.
I think so.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What about it sounds distressed?
Just the way he's talking. I mean, it's not. He's more energetic.
So he's actually shown that he has deliberately tried to conceal. He's tried to conceal the weapon, and now he's trying to conceal his part in the incident. I think he signed his own
More.
his own
not just
fate
kind of
there.
Sitting there.
Could also be because he's nervous because of what just happened. And
Yes.
okay.
That makes more sense. But then they would have had to float.
And do you know if
Wouldn't they?
you don't know if him being quiet was because he was afraid he was going to get arrested or because he was in shock, right?
Yeah.
You do know?
No, I don't know. Say that again.
You don't know if he was quiet and different than how he normally is because he thought he was going to get arrested or because he was in shock.
I think in shock.
You think, but you don't know, right?
Oh, no, I don't know.
Nothing else.
Mr. Nelson?
I came here to tell the jury about your observations of a man you know, correct?
Yes.
And the observations that you told the jury, were those accurate?
Yes.
Is that what you saw?
Yes.
Then you were asked some questions about a video. Was that at a different time than what you told the jury about what you saw?
The video I just saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 3 moments in time you were asked about.
Longer afterwards.
I asked you about what did Mr. Miu look like right when he came back to the tube.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yes.
And then you were shown a video about another moment in time that's
Yeah.
later, correct?
Later, yeah.
You agree that's about an hour later?
Leading.
Sustained.
Do you know what time that video is taken in relation to when you made your observation of him in shock?
Honesty is always the best policy.
The video where he was sitting in the tube, do you know when that was in time in relation to when you saw him with a white face and pale?
Oh, maybe 20 minutes. I'm just guessing.
Okay. Did you, when he came back to the tubes, did the group wait at the tubes or did they leave right away?
No, we waited.
Do you know how long the group waited?
Well, it seemed like a very long time, but it's probably maybe 20, 25 minutes.
Okay. And do you know when that video was taken right away when you guys started going back down, or was it near the exit, or was it some other time? Do you know when that video is?
I think towards the exit.
Okay. Do you know how long the trip was from when you left the sandbar after the 25 minutes that you stayed there until you got to the exit?
Is it like 45 minutes, I think?
Okay. So I'm just trying to get us to the math here. Sounds like it's about an hour after when you had the conversation with him where you were talking.
I think so, yes.
Okay. In that video that we saw, were you able to see his face?
No.
Do you know what Mr. Miu was doing in that 60 minutes between the time that you described him as shocked, stunned, rigid?
I think.
Until that time?
What he was doing? No.
Do you know?
Didn't think so. I don't think there is much more we can get from this witness that's pertinent. So let's zoom on to the next one, shall we? So let me stop sharing this one. Share screen. So this leads us into day 7. Sit there, share. And full screen. Go. I think this might be the medical examiner, maybe, perhaps. I haven't seen this one, so I'm going in blind.
Dr. Froloff, please come forward.
Doctor.
Please face the clerk. Raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
I hate how he says she. It's like she's the cat's mother.
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Yes, you may.
She has a name and a title, and she has probably earned it.
Mr. Smestad.
Will you state your name and spell your last name, please?
My name is Victor Frolov. First name Victor, V-A-C-T-O-R. Last name F-R-O-L-O-F-F.
And what's your occupation?
I think you might be Russian.
I'm an assistant medical examiner for Ramsey County.
And
ME.
generally, what
Hold
are
on.
your...
Is there a cell phone? I hear music.
Yes, sorry.
Please turn.
I had it off and it's for some reason it's playing.
All right. Maybe you should step out. All right, you got it. Again, it's amazed. I am amazed that we've gotten this far in the trial without a cell phone. So I compliment you all. But please make sure all devices are turned off. They can be a distraction to the attorneys and the witnesses during their important work. Mr. Smestad.
Dr. Frolov, what are your general duties as a medical examiner?
We have multiple duties. I was hired by Dr. Mills to perform autopsy. Autopsy is examination of the dead bodies. Of course, we have to sign the death certificates. When physician refused to sign, we approve all cremations in the state of Minnesota. And of course, I have to do autopsy. I have to express my opinion about cause and manner of the death. And sometimes I have to give my opinion about cause and manner of the death in the court.
Are you occasionally asked by St. Croix County to complete autopsies for deaths that occur in St. Croix County?
Yes, St. Croix County, it's our neighbors across the river, so they usually send cases, complicated cases to us.
How long have you been a medical examiner?
My official position, assistant medical examiner, I'm employed in this position for 19 years.
I can approach your honor.
Yes.
Doctor, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 61. Recognize that document?
Yes, Exhibit 61, it's a hard copy of my CV.
By CV, you means curriculum vitae?
That's correct.
Does it set forth your credentials, training, that type of thing?
Yes.
Does it also set forth teaching jobs you've had and publications that you've contributed to or wrote yourself?
Yes.
Can you please just summarize your education?
I'm a physician for like 39 years. I graduated medical school. I did 1 year of internship in internal medicine. I practiced emergency medicine for many years. And
I did
30 years ago, I immigrated to the United States. Basically, I have to start all over. So I passed all my tests. I decided I'd like to do forensic pathology. In order to do forensic pathology, you need to do some specialized training. I graduated from University of Minnesota in pathology, and I did 2 fellowships in Milwaukee. So I trained in Wisconsin. So it's Medical College of Wisconsin and Milwaukee County Medical Examiner Office. And I get back to Minnesota.
Have you been working at the Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office? You said 19 years. Has that been continuously with Ramsey County?
Yeah, I don't work for Ramsey County. I work for Dr. Mills, who's a Ramsey County medical examiner. She hired me to perform autopsy. But yes, continuously for 19 years, yes.
So he's a
Do you
subcontractor.
have a
Is that
general
right?
idea of how many autopsies you performed at that time?
I don't count autopsies anymore. It's over 4,000 autopsies. And now it's approximately rate 300 autopsies per year.
Can you tell the jury what the field of pathology entails? What's all involved with it?
Pathology, it's a branch of the medicine study, basically nature of the disease, such as cancer, for example.
And what's forensic pathology?
Forensic pathology and forensic pathologists use
qualified.
medical knowledge in legal cases, unusual deaths, unusual circumstance, and violent deaths.
And are you licensed to practice medicine?
I have full 2 and unrestricted licenses for state of Minnesota and state of Wisconsin.
And obviously he's performing autopsies on folks that have been killed. That's part of your duties?
Some live ones.
Yes, we perform,
That's
you
a
know,
question.
we involve in investigation and perform an autopsy in a homicidal death.
For those who might not know, can you describe what an autopsy is?
Autopsy, it's a complex procedure. First of all, we like to know what happened with the body. Second, I perform external examination. At the time of the external examination, we collect trace evidence, DNA, sexual assault kit.
I feel like I'm
some
listening to
other,
a spy.
specimens if I have to. Then I perform internal examination of the body. It's called evisceration. Basically, we open body, we look for damage, we look for any type of injuries, we look for diseases. At the same time, I'm taking photographs. And another large part of the autopsy, it's performing toxicology. At the time of the examination, we collect body fluids, such as blood, bile. We collect urine if it's available. We collect fluid from eyes, called vitreous humor. And I collect tissue samples for toxicology, such as liver.
Blood.
Did you perform an autopsy on Isaac Schuman back in 2022?
I performed autopsy on Isaac Schuman on July 31st, 2022. You're correct, yes.
And do you prepare reports regarding, or did you prepare reports regarding the autopsy that you completed of Isaac Schuman?
Yes, we usually issue like provisional reports, like my initial diagnosis, initial thinking, without toxicology, is the same day. And when I'm done with full investigation and toxicology, I sign a final autopsy report.
I can approach your honor.
Yes.
I'm not sure what their this is probably his autopsy report, but I'm not sure if they have any photos or anything to present. So just in case, we have a graphic content warning.
Basically, it's a sharp force injury, stab wound when the depth of the wound exceeds the length of the wound on the skin. So it was stab wound to the left chest. The stab wound penetrated to his left chest cavity. He had a damage, I call it sharp force injury, to his 5th and 6th ribs on the left chest cavity. Then wound kind of continues and go to the left lung. I was able to identify sharp force injury to the lower lobe of the left lung. He had a blood in his left chest cavity. I recovered 200 cubic centimeters. It's approximately in glass of the blood
Pneumothorax
in his left chest cavity. And he had damage, sharp force injury to his pericardium. Pericardium, it's a coverage, kind of like sac around his heart. and he had a sharp force injury to the apex of the heart. Apex, it's a pointy part of the heart, like
the bottom
he
of
had
the
a damage,
ventricle.
sharp force injury to the left ventricle of the heart. And he had a condition, and I identified this condition on the X-ray I performed before autopsy. He had a condition called pneumothorax. Pneumothorax is present of the air in the chest cavity. So two conditions, pneumothorax, air, and hemothorax present on the blood. And his organs, midline organs, was kind of shifted to the right. It's called deviation to the right. It's because it's collection of the air in the left chest cavity.
He had no hope. His ventricle was injured in the stabbing. It would have just been pumping straight out. There was nothing that the CPR, nothing they could have done. So tragic. Yes, yes, I am actually for many years. Did surgical nursing, and then did intensive care. And
Yes, Exhibit 24, it's hard copy of some of my images I took at the time of the examination.
Those are the photographs you took during your examination of Isaac Schuman?
Some of them, yes.
All right, and I want to go through this page by page.
Yes, you may.
I agree. I absolutely agree. That's no compassion or remorse, and the fact that he tried to conceal as well. He knew that. Well, that tells me that he knew he was in the wrong and he'd done the wrong thing. So it's just another nail in the. Yeah, in my opinion, it's another nail. But oh, you too! Yay! What type of nursing do you do? Is it in I don't know the hospital at Yorkshire, but I'm sure there's a big one there, no doubt. It's very handy actually when you're watching trials to be able to give a bit of an insight into the medical side, especially when they were when AJ was what they're trying to explain AJ's injuries and the vac dressings and yeah, the reason that he was in hospital for so long and then the reason why what was her name at the very start? Oh, I can't think. I'm having a brain freeze at the moment because I haven't had any sleep. But what's her name? I can say now.
Dr. Froloff, I'm going to go through each of the 12 photos that are in Exhibit 24.
Riley.
Page 1, what is that the photo of?
I believe it's page 1. It's a hard copy of the swim trunk or swimsuit, which I took from the body.
Was Isaac Schuman wearing anything else other than the swim trunks when you received his body?
No.
Page 2, can you tell us what that is?
That's right, Riley Madison.
Page 2, that's image of the body taken from the left side. So the gentleman that's on my table, I took these photographs. He covered by medical, just basically hospital type of sheath. His hands covered by brown bags.
Why are his hands covered, if you know?
This is part of the requirement. In cases for suspicious cases, we ask law enforcement or medical personnel cover hands with bag to protect trace evidence because we have to collect trace evidence at the time of the autopsy. So it's part of the standard procedure.
All right, page 3, what does that show?
I hope we're on the same page. I believe this is when I took a bag from his hands. This is image of the wrist, left wrist, and I just document that he had it's my name tag and it's hospital number. He was ID by hospital number, and he had a golden collar chain or bracelet on his left wrist.
When his body came to you, did he have that bracelet on?
Yes, actually, I recovered later. It was because his hands were a bag, but he had a bracelet, yes.
All right, page 4, can you tell us what that is?
Page 4, I believe this is image of the back of his right hand.
Page 5.
Page 5, that's again, it's a photograph of the front of his right hand.
Page 6.
I used to always get them mixed up. But
Page 6, it's a photograph of the front of his right hand. I just tried to take a picture on the different angle to see, how it turns.
All right, and then page 7, can you tell us what that is?
if they're going to show the pictures.
Page 7, it's
Have you seen this testimony?
hard copy of the image of his
Cakes?
left hand, back of his left hand.
And then page 8.
Page 8, it's again image of the front of his left hand.
Page 9, can you tell us what that is?
Page 9. On the page 9, when we collect trace evidence, again, I wash a body and photograph body again. This is picture of the front of his body, anterior chest. We call it anterior chest, but basically front of the body. And in his left chest, you can see oblique. It's meaning running at the angle. Sharp force injury. In this case, it's a stab wound to the left chest. Under this wound, he had a small, I had a hard time to subclassify tiny kind of like abrasion. I described in the final report that this is abrasion. It's very superficial injuries. And this sharp force injury, it's fairly large. I measure it 10 centimeters. It's approximately 3.9 inches in length.
Don't tell anyone, but I often watch RA to go to sleep because his voice is so soothing.
Next page, that's a close-up of his stab wound to the left chest. It's located below the left nipple. And again, just close up. I just want to show jury, I don't know, defense attorney, prosecutor, that this is indeed sharp force injury, and both ends of the wound is sharp. That could be important in some cases to describe exact, details of the stab wound.
On the next page, is that from your internal examination of Isaac's body?
Sometimes
next page,
more padding on your skin.
yes, that's a image of the left chest. When I remove his skin from the left chest,
Nice to not get anywhere
I
near
observed that he had a
my ribs.
sharp force injury to 2 ribs. So
That's
2
nice
ribs was
anyway.
completely kind of like transected. So weapon went through his rib cage. Just want to show you that that's damage of the 2 ribs.
I
haven't been able
make
to
sure I
work for 7
understand you,
years.
Dr. Froloff. When you say that his ribs were transected, what do you mean by that?
It's a sharp force injury to the ribs.
And what was the
Diagnosed
damage to the
10 years
ribs?
ago.
It's completely cut.
But I
Well,
feel
I
ya.
can say cut off.
How many ribs were completely cut?
2.
All right. On the next page, if you can tell us what that is.
Next page, it's again a hard copy of the image of the heart. I mentioned to you when I examined his body, I observed that he had a sharp force injury to the apex of the heart. It's like pointy part of the heart. So I measure it's 5 centimeters. It's approximately 2 inches in length.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask for permission to publish the photos to the jury. It's my intention just to give the hard copies to the jurors rather than putting anything on the screen.
Mr. Nelson, any objection to Exhibit 24?
Yes, as we discussed, but I understand Your Honor's ruling.
Yes, I've overruled the objection. We can talk more later. Members of the jury, Mr. Smestad is going to hand you the paper photographs from Dr. Frolof's examination. The photographs are evidence. Consider it as much as your sensibilities allow. It may be difficult to look at, so if you need to avert your eyes or set it aside, you may do so, but it is evidence, and I ask that you consider it as much as you are able to. Please share the photos.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Not so much here in the community unless you're in the NDIS.
Go back in
Yeah.
the order they were in. It's clear.
But I shall keep fighting the fight.
Be a good idea to have them stapled so they don't become shuffled or paginate them.
Dr. Froloff, were any laboratory tests performed as part of the autopsy process?
Yes, I performed full toxicology on this gentleman.
And what were the results of the toxicology
Welcome.
was done for Isaac
I
Schuman?
can't believe I've got 3
He was
people.
positive for ethanol and BAC, blood alcohol concentration. It's 0.219.
Did he have any other substances in his blood?
No, there is no other substances or drugs.
In your field, forensic
I agree.
pathology, what is the term cause of death
Especially the
refer
opiates.
to?
We have to express opinion about causes of death. Basically, it's how people die in the case of, for example, people die from heart attack. That's cause of the death.
And what does the term manner of death mean in your field?
In matter of the death, it's how cause of the death came to be. And in the case of the heart attack, that's going to be natural death.
Based on the autopsy you performed of Isaac Schuman, were you?
I'm sorry. I'm being rude, laughing over the medical examiner. But when you say, I've been sitting here for 5 weeks, chatting to myself, sending myself messages from one channel to another, just to make it look like I've had someone to talk to. So I apologize. I'm not meaning to be rude, Mr. Victor Froloff. But yeah, I just cannot explain how appreciative to Scott I am. I just, yeah.
Be able to determine a cause of death?
I'll get emotional.
Yes.
What was this cause of death?
In my opinion, cause of the death, it's stab wound to the left chest.
And based on the autopsy you performed of Isaac?
I generally watch RA in bed, and I've got a big telly in the bedroom. So at night when I'm watching YouTube, I use that as my relaxation. And true crime is my hobby. Basically, that's what I love watching. Anything to do with true crime. So at night, that's what I watch, and I don't get involved in the chat because I can't see that on the TV. So once I've been watching RA and Brandy and Rob and Ian, I thought, well, I'm here doing this, watching it all day. I may as well live stream it and do it as well. The only issue that I have is that I can't do it live because I can't sit for the 8 hours in the one spot. I'm limited to 2 or 3 hours before my pain levels get too high. So that's why I'm doing the recaps. And I can't afford to do the entire day either. So I commend RA for his time that he puts in. He puts in a lot of effort. But yeah, so at the moment it's 9 o'clock Melbourne time here. So I generally try and do my streaming after dinner, like 6:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30, which works for Australia, but it doesn't work for the US and the UK. So I might start doing some early afternoon ones, and that might be able to then involve some more people from the US and the UK at more suitable times, perhaps, because I've got all day. It doesn't really matter when I do the recap. So yeah, I might try and start doing some early afternoon ones. The other issue is it takes me 3 or 4 hours of a morning to get moving with the arthritis and get my pain under control, and then I do stupid things like staying up all night live streaming with recovery addicts. So, but it's worth it in the end, I think. I've only got well, I had started with 5 subscribers yesterday, and after the live stream, I've got 92 this morning, which is just phenomenal. And you need to get a certain amount. So I think you have to have 500 now to be able to be monetized, and a certain amount of watch time hours as well, which is why all the tubers say to you, like, subscribe, watch my channel, blah, 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 because it's the amount, down to the minute they will time you on how many watch time hours that you've had before they will qualify you to be monetized. So, yeah.
Isaac's body, were you able to determine a manner?
So it's 12 lunchtime
Yes.
now. All right.
What was that conclusion?
In my opinion, manner of the death in this case, it's a homicide.
I will always put in
Your Honor,
an
I don't have any
upcoming
other
stream
questions for the doctor. I'm
notification.
going to move. Pardon me.
Yeah, he's
As
92.
part of your examination of Isaac,
Overnight.
did you measure his height and weight?
Yes, we measure length of the body, not heights, but length of the body and weight. Yes.
What was the length of the body and the weight for Isaac Schuman?
He was weighted 134 pounds.
If you haven't seen the Ruiz trial,
How long he was?
And again, we measure length of the body. It's a little bit different than height, 6.1.
mainly
And the
for
evidence that
the
you
revolting lawyering.
From Mr. Schuman, as I turned over to the sheriff's office.
I believe, evidence, and we collect, the trace evidence in this case was released to, I believe, on the 2nd of August to sheriff's office, yes.
Did you, as part of your examination of Isaac, take any DNA samples?
Again, in every case, we collect, in this case, we collect sexual assault kit, but basically we collect hair, buccal swabs inside of the oral cavity called buccal swabs, suitable for DNA, yes.
Were those items also turned over to the sheriff's department?
I believe so, yes.
I'm getting back to
The Ruiz trial is the one where the mother and the boyfriend was charged with intentionally harming a child. So he was basically torturing her, poor thing, and calling it discipline. She was 5. It was little Latoya. Can't think of her last name. But I've got the full playlist there if you want to have a look at it. Yeah, horrible man.
the injury to Isaac's chest.
As I said
you
too,
measure how deep that injury is?
I said earlier, I feel like I'm listening
Yes,
to
I
a
measure
guide.
depth of the wound. It's 11 centimeters. It's approximately 4.3 inches.
I set up as thank you.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor. I'm going to move for admission
See
of
what's
Exhibit
outside the camera.
24, 61. Two on the bench here. If I can approach.
24 is already received. Any objection to
Live
61?
streaming is like a that haircut, the mullet.
That's the preliminary
Push it
report.
decent on the top. Doesn't matter what's on the bottom.
72 is 60.
Oh, excuse me, 61 was the CV. That's received. What was the other exhibit?
60 is the provisional report, no objection. 17 is the final report, no objection.
Both received. Mr. Nelson.
You're a medical examiner?
Good morning, Counselor. I'm not a medical examiner, official position, assistant medical examiner.
In general, your role is you're a medical examiner. I understand you have a title and a position, but your role is you're an ME.
Qualified.
Right?
I'm an assistant medical examiner, yes,
Well,
for Ramsey
not-
County. That's official position.
Will not question.
And you're here to tell us essentially two things. One is that Isaac Schuman's deceased,
There's
right?
3 people watching. And
He
You
was.
agree with that?
Yes, I agree. He was deceased before I started autopsy.
and
Yes.
And another, essentially what you're here to say is
welcome. Thank you.
how he died, correct?
Yes.
As you said, you want to know what happened, correct?
We like to know what happened. Yes.
And as part of that, you do an autopsy, you examine the body, correct?
Yes.
Because sometimes that helps to figure out what happened, correct?
You're correct. Yes.
You would agree that it's unusual in your field to like have a video of what happened. Agreed?
Well, lately we have more and more videos because everything on cameras. But yes, sometimes videos taken at the time of the incident. Yes.
And obviously, you would agree that a video is helpful for all of us to determine what happened, right?
Again, my job to determine cause and matters of death, express my opinion, and videos sometimes important. Yes.
Did you see the video in this case?
I did not observe any videos.
Have you ever observed any photos or frames from that video?
I prefer not to. I was not offered, but I was told by prosecution that video available, but
Who might have blocked you? It's only me. I don't have any mods. Nobody. I'm streaming to 2 channels. So I'm streaming to this channel and to the Disability Diva channel, which is my other disability resource channel. So Christine might be watching from or on that channel, perhaps. Well, you can't see her in chat, but she's definitely there. I promise. And you haven't been blocked because there's no mods.
I deny. I didn't observe video.
Okay. And again, just to summarize, your opinion is he died due to a penetrating stab wound to his left chest, correct?
In the final report, I said exsanguination, basically bleeding to the death, to the stab wound to the left chest. You're correct.
Medical examiners, even assistant medical examiners, is there a board certification process for that position?
It depends on which field. Yes.
Okay. In your field, there's a board certification process, sir?
Yes.
Are you board certified?
I'm a diplomat of the American Board of Medical Legal Death Investigators.
It's a
Are
piece
you
of paper.
board certified as a medical examiner?
There is no board certification for medical examiners, board certification for forensic pathology.
You talked about manner of death and cause of death. Is that right?
Yes.
And I think just so we know, again, just cause of death is stab wound to the left chest in simple terms, correct?
You are correct. Yes.
And then the manner is, as you said, how that cause came to be. Agreed?
Yes.
And that's a medical term, correct?
It's a forensic term. Yes.
A forensic medical term, correct?
Sure.
Semantics.
It's not a legal term, correct?
It's not a legal term. No.
And the cause of death,
homicide is.
there are essentially, you have 4 options, 5 options?
No, for manner of the death, we have.
Yes,
For
I
cause of death,
apologize.
it's indefinitive. For manner of the death, we have limited options. Yes.
Absolutely. So manner of death, there's limited options, only 5?
We can choose from the natural death, accidental death, suicidal death, homicidal death. And if I cannot determine, I can say it's undetermined death. You're correct.
So there is no determination that you can make, that you're qualified to do as to whether or not the homicide occurred as a result of self-defense. Agreed?
Oh, I never testified that it's self-defense or as an issue. Homicide, basically, from forensic point of view, it's meaning life taken by another person.
Sure. And again, that's outside of your field, whether it's self-defense. Agreed?
Yes, I never testified about self-defense. Yes.
Okay. In this situation, you examined Isaac Schuman's body, and part of that was the toxicology. Is that right?
Yes.
And you determined that his blood alcohol concentration was 0.219. Agreed?
It's not me, it's a lab.
A lab that you rely on, and you
just got burned.
correct?
Yes.
So based upon your relying on that lab, you agree his blood alcohol concentration was 0.219.
That's correct.
And
Two
you're
yes.
aware that the legal limit for adults permitted to drink alcohol is 0.08, correct?
In the state of Wisconsin, driving legal limit, it's 0.08. You're correct.
So
0.05
this
in
would be
Australia?
over 2.5 times the legal limit, correct?
Yes.
I'm driving.
Now, you talked about the wound and you described that. Agreed?
Yes.
The manner in which somebody would receive a stab wound is a dynamic process. You agree?
You're correct. Yes.
There would be, you're not here to tell anybody about the amount of force that was used to cause that wound. Agreed?
It's usually hard to determine force in the cases like that. Yes.
And part of the reason that it's hard to determine is because the process is so dynamic, correct?
Oh, it's not just dynamic, it's nature of the weapon and so on and so on.
And at least part of it, and I understand there might be more complications, part of it is that it might be one object going into another object. It might be two objects moving towards each other, correct? Those are at least two of the possible dynamics involved.
If you mean objects, it's humans, right?
Correct. And I apologize. A person
And person.
and the knife. You're absolutely right. I apologize. You agree?
It's a dynamic process, yes.
And so part of that, to try to measure, if one was to try to think about that force, you'd have to know whether the person who's receiving that wound, in what direction they're moving, correct?
It's so many things you need to consider. Yes.
You would agree, though, if the person receiving the wound is moving towards the knife, that's going to impact how the injury occurs. Agreed?
Not
Yes.
necessarily.
If the person receiving the wound is reaching out,
What about
that's going
the
to
force
impact
behind it.
the wound that is received.
I can't speculate because, it's possibility, but again, I'm here to express opinion about cause and matters of death. And I never, observed this incident. Sure, but again, it's really hard to tell what happened because I don't know what happened exactly.
I understand, but you were here to say a certain depth of the wound, and that was something that you pointed out to the jury, correct?
Depth of the wound, it's easy to measure, and it's objective kind of things.
Sure. So you would agree, though, it's fair for me to ask you questions about how it may have came to be that the wound became that deep. That's a fair question. You agree?
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Are you fine with that?
Until, some points, yes.
Yeah. And so that may have occurred if a body is moving towards that knife, that's going to impact the depth of the wound. Agreed?
Yes.
If a 6'1", 130-pound, 34 person is moving towards into that knife, that might make the knife go deeper, correct?
I can't predict how deep exactly, but it's possibility, yes.
Sure. And certainly if that person, 6'1", 134 pounds, is falling forward, so all their weight is going forward onto that knife, that's going to impact the force as well,
9:30.
correct?
That's a possibility.
Every time I do a live stream at 9:30, Mr. Spoilt Moggy here, Mr. Felix, is nagging me to go to bed. You'll see him walking in and out and meowing in the background, so I apologize. He wants mummy time.
Possibility, yes.
And certainly if the person who's holding the knife is falling backwards, that might impact the force involved to the
He
wound,
is not
correct?
there to
My guess, so it's possibility, yes.
And if the
force involved.
person with holding the knife who's falling backward, if they only reach out.
So, all right. So you've got a 4-inch knife, right? Okay. It's got a blade on it and it's got a butt on it. It doesn't matter how fast the person is running towards that knife or the person holding the knife. If that goes in, it will only go in so far. He can't tell you which direction it was going and whether or not Isaac was leaning forward into it or running towards it or
Small amount, that's going to impact
wasting
the force
time
that
defense.
causes the depth of the wound, correct?
As I said, it's so many variables, I can't speculate. It's, I don't know. I'm in pathology again. I have to express opinion on the cause and manner of the death, and this is just like what potential could happen if I don't have a straight answer.
Correct. And part of what you do in medicine is sometimes you come up with hypotheses, right?
I don't come with hypothesis. It's just like I can official like statement. Like depth of the wound could be, like deeper than length of the blade or shorter, or it's going to be equal. These are questions I can't answer, but what's potential happen at the time of the incident? It's endless possibilities. I don't know.
And you agree that the possibilities that I talked with you about, those are reasonable possibilities that if someone were to try to consider the force should be considered. Agreed?
Sure.
At the end of the day, the force was enough to.
Those are the only questions I have.
Ventricle.
It's just messed up.
He's sitting there thinking.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Furlong. You may step down.
Am I excused, Your Honor?
You are excused. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Who have we got? Oh, we've got.
How's everyone doing? Anybody need a short recess?
Yeah. What's the time?
All looks okay.
All right. I might actually pause it here and continue again tomorrow, maybe earlier in the afternoon. And we'll do the end of day 7 and day 8, because I think it's day either later this day or day 8 that Nicolae testifies, I think. It's either today or tomorrow. So I'd like to do his interview and his testimony together. So I shall stop this stream at this point and we'll catch up with the rest tomorrow, I think. But yes, I will definitely try and come on a little bit earlier if I can. Yeah, maybe around 4 or 5-ish. I'll see how I go. I'll see how my day pans out. I actually have to fly to Harvey Bay on Tuesday. I found out yesterday that my mum's unwell, so I booked some quick flights last night, and I shall be flying up there for a week, so I won't be able to do any live streaming as such whilst I'm there for the week. So I will make sure this trial is finished before I go, and I will leave you with some tidbits of some video compilations and information that I've compiled on the Chad Dolman trial that's coming up in July. There's a lot of background stuff that we need to do there. And I'll also be covering the Treehouse murder retrial with Tyrone Tucker. So, oh, thank you. That's lovely. Thank you very much. I will say hello and send her your well wishes. Thank you. So, oh, all right. I'll try and do late afternoon. It's probably better for me, more about 5, 6ish anyway, after that, because then I've had enough time to organise all my stuff for the day and feed the cats, and then I don't get to the 9:30 mark and have a spoilt moggy nagging me. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here with me. It's been lovely to chat to you. Oh, don't go. Oh, you're lovely. Absolutely lovely. It's been lovely to have you here. And I hopefully shall see you tomorrow. And where's my little outro? All right. Stay safe, stay well. I shall bid you adieu. No.